Hey guys, so we have a lot of questions about where we've been, what we've done, and why we're here now. We have two homes on this little property. We have the off-grid cabin plus the big house. And we have been all over the country in the last 3 years. We left Idaho and our homestead for renters to take care of in 2016. John had hurt his back, I think the end of 2015, just before Christmas. And since then we've had all these adventures. We traveled the country down to Florida, and then we came back to Idaho. We purchased the cabin and started putting it together. And then in the summers we would be here in the off-grid cabin, and in the winters we would be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. While we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we got horses so that we could try out farming in Tulsa. While we were living in an apartment, we found some really amazing homesteads that just made our heart sing. And we actually put money down and were in the process of purchasing it when our renters decided to buy a house, and we now had an empty house that needed to be taken care of. So I came back. Eventually, after a couple months, John was able to transfer his work from Tulsa to Idaho. Hopefully for those of you who have been confused about why and where and what we are, that's helpful. And currently, mostly what you're going to be seeing is winter preps, canning, playing with horses, playing with livestock, and crafting. So thanks for popping in. Thanks for continuing to watch our channel, and we'll talk to you later. This is my rocket mass heater. It was made by the Honeydew Carpenter. And what makes it special is that it is a rocket mass heater that uses aircrete. And this year, he has a new stove going into my big house for us to try. And the reason that we're doing it different is because we learned that the gravel that we use as a heat sink, we do have a bench over there that I'll show to you in a bit. And it has the chimney pipe running through it and then out again. And we can burn the stove for a couple hours, and then we can just let it turn off, and it keeps the cabin warm for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Depends on how long you ran the stove, so that the heat bank can absorb all that heat. But what we found was that the aircrete around this part of the stove actually holds heat better than the gravel in the heatsink bench. And you would think, well, maybe it's because there's coals in it. No, because I let the fire die completely down before I go to bed at night. It's not because there's coals in it. So what we're thinking this year, we just had a good conversation on the phone about it, is to fill the heat shroud with aircrete so that you don't need a bench. We have a bench. We love our bench. It's fantastic. But do you need a bench? If this and that are full of aircrete, can it hold enough heat to keep your pipes from freezing at night when you go to bed? That kind of thing. We don't know yet. This house is 12 by 32. Our other house, our big house, is 2,100 square feet with a basement and an upstairs. So it's going to be a lot of experimenting, but I wanted to show you starting the fire. This is not ideal. With the rocket mass heater, you want, at least with this rocket mass heater, you don't want little pieces of wood. You want big pieces of wood, and you want to completely stack it full. There are a few coals in there, cold coals, but I'm going to go ahead and see. This works much, much better when it's completely full of wood, because the stove will actually suck the flame off of the wood. So if you don't have enough wood above it to kind of feed it as the flame is being sucked back, you can lose your flame. So I have the bench closed, so the smoke is going to go directly up the chimney instead of into the bench. And the reason that all this works is because the chimney has aircrete in it. It's a completely insulated chimney. When we first start it, we might have some back puffing because the chimney is still cold. But as soon as that chimney warms up, you don't have any more back puffing at all, even when the smoke drops 2 feet to go into the bench. So I prefer to use cotton fabric instead of paper. It just is much more effective at starting a good fire and not having a lot of ash in the bottom of your firebox. So let's see how that's gonna go. Again, it needs about twice as much wood as what I have in it right now. And so I'm going to help it with a lot more wax than I usually would. The wax that I use is actually from the candles that we use out here in the off-grid cabin. And I should probably be sitting on the other side because the light in here is not complimentary. But we'll see how long that takes to come and do its thing. While it's trying to decide if it wants to take off, I will show you the bench. So that's the bench. That's the chimney right there. And then you can see it going out. The air, that insert, that window insert also has aircrete in it. And it's pretty neat. One of the reasons I wanted to come out and start the fire is because the big house is cold. I don't have the wood stove going in there yet. There we go. And we're off. I don't have the wood stove in there going yet, and so it's actually, if I start a fire out here, it's going to be warmer out here than it is in the house. The girls would probably like to come out here and spend some time. And I'm getting really excited about having the other stove in the house to try out. So I just wanted to come out and play with my stove today. It does always pull the heat to the back. It moves very quickly. The stove does get hot enough to melt steel. It is welded in the back, and this last fall and spring when we were using the stove, we had some really good fires going in it, and it popped the welds and bent the back of the firebox in. So the new firebox is made out of a special aluminous, I think he called it aluminous silicate or something, some kind of different concrete. It's not aircrete. He was not able to turn the firebox itself into aircrete because of the way that that particular concrete wants to set up. But it is now an actual tile that he poured flat and then folds up and uses a special kind of cement, heat cement, to hold it together. And that's the inside of the batch box. And then on the outside of that you pour aircrete. And then you have the metal on the outside, so you don't have to worry about your the inside of your firebox melting anymore. We do find that we don't want pebbles to be more than about halfway up in the heat riser space, because if you do that, it takes too long for the room itself to heat up. The pebbles would be heating up, or the aircrete would be heating up, but it wouldn't be allowing enough of the heat to escape into the room to warm the air up. And we do have the other one coming probably in October because Darwin has a lot on his plate. He's trying to get plans up so that people can recreate the stove themselves. He has a new, a new vinyl laminate surface that he can roll out, that you can pin on your work table, and you can mark it and screw down little dividers, and then you can pour yourself your own batch box. Amazing. So he's trying to get all those systems set up so that he can send them to you in the mail, and you don't have to be shipping heavy things back and forth. You're just shipping the blueprints back and forth plus the mix list and how to mix it. So he's generally just sending you the instructions, sending you the printout, and a few parts here and there that are super light. And it should just be really exciting to see what people do with it. One tip, if you're not used to using wood for fire, is that people say that it's super dirty. But it's only dirty if you bring it into your living space. Keep most of it outside. Don't bring it in the house, because if you bring it in the house, anything that's with it, dirt, wood, shavings, yellow jackets, spiders, they come in with you. So we never bring, we never bring the wood in the house. We leave it out on the porch until we're ready. We just make sure it's in a spot it won't get rained or snowed on. And then as we bring it in, we put it directly in the stove, and that way we don't get any little friends coming in. We did have Airbnbers in here. We have changed things just a little bit. And I should have my other lens on so that you could see it better. I'm sorry, but I don't have my other lens on. But there's our little stove. You know it's really starting to heat up when the fan starts to turn. It has not started to turn yet. This is the window insert. It is full of aircrete, and it's brilliant. And then the stovepipe outside is also a double wall chimney with aircrete. when we have a good bed of coals, I pull this up and it directs the smoke into the bench, around the bench, and then back up and out the window. And it never gets so hot that we can't touch it. The hottest it gets is about 150 degrees. But this part here that touches the bench only gets about 100 degrees. So that's, in the beginning I was really nervous about having fabric and everything touch it, but I'm not worried now. It never ever gets hot enough to burn. Same thing with that. It has to be really rip snorting. It has to have been going for a couple hours before that gets hot. There's not really a part of the stove that could burn a child except for that right there. And that closes around it. So when it's really rip snorting, yes, this will get warm, but it doesn't get hot enough to really burn you. So it really is a very wonderful stove. It is such a wonderful part of my little life. And then here's the living room. For those of you who don't remember, usually we have little baskets up here for storage, but we're using them in the house right now. And there's the closet. And we just absolutely love it out here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's how you know it started to heat up. The fan started to go. So, I don't know what else you guys would like to know. We did get this door painted on one side, and then we had a new Airbnb come in, and we had to put the door back on before we could paint the other side. Darn it. And this is what the deck is looking like. Our hand wash station, our cooking station, and our bath water station. We are going to be taking this in and testing it on the Elmira to see how it does just on the stovetop as an oven. And that will be kind of fun. And that's what it looks like on the inside. Again, it is full of aircrete. And I've got chickens out there talking to me. So there we go. Happy, happy life. Alright, so here we are. It's really hot now. It's roaring, and that fan is a spinning. Maybe you can't see the fan. Maybe I should stand up. Alright, there's the fan. It's a spinning. And the flame, it's a roaring. There you can see the air intake. And you can probably hear it. Can you hear it? It's got that second burn in the back so that we don't have any emissions. And you can really hear it. So at this point I do close that so that if we did have any ashes or something that wanted to explode, we wouldn't have them coming out the front. So I have closed it down, and now it is perfectly safe. I want to go out and show you what the smoke looks like. See that? No smoke. We don't get any smoke. You saw that was a cold burn? We don't smell it. We can't see it. We just have to have faith that there is a fire going, because there's no smoke at all. No smoke. Our Airbnbers requested electricity. So we have a little extension cord out here so that they could run a fan. But we don't generally run it. It's well enough insulated that it generally stays very cool in here. And I think the ticking of the clock is so therapeutic. Okay, so I've been in the house for about an hour. There's my coals. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get another piece of wood in or not. I'm going to try, and then I'm going to close the bench. You can hear that. I don't know if you can see it, but you can hear it, I'm sure. So, I'm going to close that so we don't have sparks. I'm going to come over here and lift that up. It doesn't always want to stick. Okay, so now with that up, what's going to happen is this is going to slow down. And the smoke is going to go through the bench and out the window. So see how warm we are. So it's warm to the touch but not hot. This is going to be hot, but not much more. See? Not too hot. Generally it sits around 120 degrees, but you see we don't have smoke coming back into the house, and all the smoke is now going into the bench, but there's no smoke coming into the house. I'm really tempted just to sleep in here tonight. So tempted. It is so much cozier. The air in here is a lot cleaner and not, you know how with central heating or with baseboards or any kind of electrical heat system, you get kind of muggy. You know, it gets kind of damp. It gets kind of muggy. The air gets kind of nasty. Well, here we open and close the doors a lot because we're going out to get wood, and we don't have anything sealed. We have 2 vents up in the attic that always stay open, and we do not have the window insert that is full of aircrete. It is not sealed. So if we have wind outside, you actually see a breeze coming through the window. So the air in here is always really, really fresh. And what I really want to do is just take a nap. By the way, we do have carbon monoxide and smoke detectors out here. They are run with batteries and we periodically check them. For those of you who are worried, we do have them. I think the best thing about this stove, and I don't know, about the whole thing, the whole off-grid thing, is the peace, the quiet, the comfort. You really can make it very comfortable. The stove, because we have the heat sink that is the pebbles in the bench and around the stove, the cabin doesn't overheat. You don't take this 300, it's actually more than what it sounds like. It's 12 by 32, but because of the lofts it has more living space than that. You take that small of a space and you put a wood stove in it, especially one that gets this hot, and you're just going to roast yourself out. It's going to be miserable. But it's really nice in here right now. It's about 72 degrees, and that stove is just a humming. It's only 72 degrees. the little fan is going. It's sending more heat up into the attics. But if I were to let that stove go out right now, it would still keep us warm for the next 8 hours, which is amazing. It's better than forced air central heating. It's better. So much more comfortable. So much more control over it. So much less fuel. So far I've put 2 pieces of wood in, aside from the kindling that I put in the beginning. And it's been 2 hours, maybe almost 3. And that's all I put in. And I'm just sitting out here listening to the clock. And I'm not sleeping, I'm just resting. And my thought processes are my own. And the best thing is, I don't have anything plugged in that needs my attention. I don't need to go do anything. I can just sit here. Granted, if there was laundry to be done, I would be working my tail off right now, trying to do off-grid laundry. But for this little moment, I'm just going to revel in it and enjoy it. And then I'm going to go into my on-grid life and get some laundry done. And I'm going to need to wait to put more wood in until most of those coals are gone. So I'm going to need to wait probably about another hour. And here we are with the silly side of the rock mass heater, is that even after 2 years of using this stove, I always think I should put just one more log in. I should put one more log in. It's the habit of having used wood stoves my whole life, where you had to just keep adding logs and keep adding logs and keep stoking the fire and keep adding logs and then clean out the ashes. That's what I'm used to. And so here I am 4 or 5 hours after starting this fire, and I felt like I had to put one more in. And now it's about 86 degrees in here, I would bet. And it's still going. I haven't been out here for an hour. The fan is still going. And there's hardly any coals left, but there's a few coals left. And those coals will run that fan for another maybe 3 hours. That fan is still going to go because everything's still hot. The pebbles inside the heat shroud, they're still going to be hot, so they're going to keep that fan going for a really long time. So it's now overwhelming in here. I should open a window, and that's pretty much how it goes. When you have a rocket mass heater and you're used to a conventional stove, you keep thinking you need to put wood in about, well, you really don't need to put any more wood in after about an hour. You should just let it go. But you never do, because it's not what you're used to. So it is not as hot in here as it would be if it was a regular wood burning stove, but I would like a little more air in here. And it will be warm in here until probably noon tomorrow, even if it's cold tonight. Just because that's the nature of the beast. I would like to show you the pebbles, but I don't really want to open the bed because our last renter left it so nice and tidy. But I should. That would be the thorough thing to do. I can't show you the pebbles that are around the heat shield because it would burn my hand. But maybe I can show you the pebbles in here because I'm thorough. And the pebbles are not even hot yet. But they're not cold. And even if they just barely get lukewarm, they will keep the cabin warm forever. So there we go. That's as much as I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to go in and start getting ready for bed, getting kids ready. I love it out here. I love how thorough it is. I love how much the comfort of off-grid living is enhanced by having that aircrete in the stove, by having the aircrete oven, all these wonderful things. So thank you, Honeydew Carpenter. I can't wait to see that new stove in my house. I'm sorry that you're running like a chicken with your head cut off. Make sure to go check out Honeydew Carpenter, guys. Morning, guys. I know you don't like it when I use this camera because the microphone is so bad. But I'm gonna have low light out there in the cabin, and you won't be able to see anything if I take out my big camera. So, my apologies. Good morning, chicken. And we got a pony that wants some hay too. Hi, chickens. But I'm gonna feed her after I show you the temperature in the cabin. And I need to let these ducks out. Oh, it's cold. I would bet it's in the probably 45, maybe 50. Good morning, ducks. There you go. Go play. All right. All right, it's cold. And it is, I'm not sure what it's going to be in here right now. So that's come all the way down because the stove is not anymore. This is not warm anymore, but the cabin itself is warm. Okay, so I'm in the cabin. I would say it's about 65 in here. And the last time I had the stove going, was it about 3 or 4 yesterday? So it's about 10 degrees warmer in here at least than it is outside. So that's good. If I had come out and fed it again, maybe at like 8, my guess is that it would still be 72 in here. So it's nice, it's comfortable, it's not so cold that I feel like I couldn't restart the fire and just have it take off. It's about as warm as my house was when I woke up this morning in the rooms that I didn't have the heater turned on. So there's the update. I could try another one and come out and light it at 8 or feed it the last time at 8 and then see what the temperature in here, because generally the last log that I put in at night when we're out here is at about 10 o'clock at night, and then I shut everything down and then it stays warm until 9 or 10 the next morning. So I might try to do that, but today is supposed to be a little brighter, so I don't know if I really want to start a fire. Anyway, that was just for your information. I'm trying to think if it has, yeah, this don't want to, what I need to get is a thermostat out here that would show the air temperature, but I don't have one of those, darn it. All I have is what it feels like. So hopefully that was helpful. It is significantly colder outside. But, I mean, you could say that of, well, I guess you couldn't necessarily say that of anything. If you've got a cold night outside and a cold night, a lot of times your inside temperature, your house will actually be as cold or colder, especially lately where we've had all the windows open.